You're not drawn to broken people by accident. It's a reflection of your own unhealed wounds. The desire to fix others? It's not selfless. It's survival. Every project partner, every person you've tried to rescue isn't just someone who needs saving. They're a mirror. Their chaos feels familiar because it echoes the way you learn to give love, to earn approval, to feel worthy. It's not about them, it's about you. This isn't about blame. It's about understanding why rescuing others feels like purpose and why receiving love feels like a threat. Healing means breaking the cycle, releasing the need to fix anyone but yourself. Today, we're diving into the why behind this pattern and, most importantly, how to rewrite it. Because you deserve more than exhaustion disguised as connection. You deserve love that flows both ways. Why we choose broken people. The allure of wounded individuals isn't just random chemistry or fate. It's deeply rooted in our own psyche. Often, it's a mirror reflecting our own unmet emotional needs and unresolved wounds. Choosing people who need fixing feels familiar because it mirrors patterns we learned early in life. A background of emotional deprivation or inconsistent love sets the stage for this dynamic. A child growing up in an environment where love wasn't unconditional but transactional, earned through being helpful, compliant, or taking on adult responsibilities too soon. That child grows up equating their value with what they can provide for others, not who they inherently are. And when we grow up, these patterns play out in relationships. The so-called broken person offers a sense of purpose. If they can heal or thrive because of you, it validates your worth. It feels safer to focus outward on their needs, their struggles, than to confront the vulnerability of asking for your own needs to be met. This isn't about them, it's about you. The people you're drawn to are reflections of your own inner identity. It's less about rescuing someone else and more about you trying to rescue yourself from your past. The adoption of the caregiver. The roots of becoming the perpetual caregiver trace back to early childhood, when love and attention from parents or caregivers were inconsistent, conditional, or absent altogether. A child begins to adapt in order to survive emotionally, adopting the role of the helper, the fixer, or the one who smooths over conflicts and meets others' needs in order to secure a sliver of affection or approval becomes the norm. The thought of your needs are too much becomes the truth of life. This leaves a child scrambling to find ways to stay connected, often by taking on responsibilities far beyond their years. Maybe you learn to distract an angry parent by being the good kid, or to protect siblings from chaos at the expense of your own peace. This dynamic evolves into an identity. Giving love becomes safer than asking for it because asking exposes you to rejection, disappointment, or neglect. Giving puts you in control. You can manage how much you give, when, and to whom. But as we grow, this pattern sets the stage for imbalance. The caregiver persona might win you praise and gratitude, but it also creates an exhausting, one-sided dynamic where your own needs go unmet. It's not genuine selflessness. It's a survival mechanism rooted in fear. Fear that if you stop giving, no one will stay. Fear that if you show vulnerability, no one will come through for you. The cost of being the caregiver. On the surface, being the caregiver might seem like a noble trait. But beneath the surface, it often comes at an emotional cost. The avoidance of vulnerability. By being the caregiver, you stay in control. Focusing entirely on someone else's problems, you avoid confronting your own emotional needs, desires, and fears. Vulnerability requires admitting that you want and deserve care. A terrifying prospect if you've been conditioned to believe your worth is tied solely to what you provide. Fear of rejection or disappointment. Relying on someone else to prioritize your needs feels like stepping into a minefield. By always being the one to give, you reduce the risk of being hurt, rejected, or disappointed. It feels safer to overextend yourself than to face the possibility that someone might not reciprocate your love and efforts. Relationships built on caregiving often become draining and one-sided. Over time, constantly prioritizing others erodes your own emotional reserves, leaving you exhausted and resentful. You might even begin to feel invisible, as your needs are perpetually overlooked. Not because others don't care, but because you've made it a habit to hide them. The illusion of selflessness. Caregiving isn't truly selfless. It's a way to protect yourself from the vulnerability of being cared for. It's a way to avoid asking for what you need, and it's a way to maintain control in relationships. While it feels like a way to connect, it ultimately creates walls between you and genuine intimacy. The discomfort with love. When someone offers you genuine care and affection, it should feel good, right? But for those who've spent a lifetime as caregivers, being on the receiving end of love often feels anything but comforting. Why being nurtured feels foreign. Love can feel like a foreign language, something you weren't taught to understand. You may have learned to associate care with obligation, making freely given affection feel suspicious or overwhelming. When a partner tries to care for you, it challenges the walls you've built. It forces you to confront a terrifying possibility. What if I allow myself to depend on someone and they let me down? What if I start to believe I deserve love, only to have it taken away? These fears are deeply rooted in old wounds, ones that taught you to guard your heart by keeping others at arm's length. Love challenges your identity. For caregivers, giving is central to their sense of self. Accepting love flips that script. It requires stepping out of the role of the giver and into a place of vulnerability, one where you risk rejection, disappointment, or loss. It's no longer about controlling the narrative of the relationship. It's about trusting someone else to meet you halfway. But trusting doesn't come easily when it threatens the survival strategies you've relied on for years. Receiving love can feel like an identity crisis, forcing you to confront the idea that your worth isn't tied to what you do for others, but simply to who you are. The fear beneath the discomfort. At its core, the discomfort with love is a fear of being seen. True care shines a light on the parts of yourself you've hidden. It asks you to believe in your inherent value, even when it feels impossible. Healing begins when you allow yourself to sit with the discomfort of being cared for and trust that you're worthy of it. Love isn't about control or obligation. It's about mutual vulnerability and connection. And you deserve that. The road to balance. Healing from the caregiving compulsion doesn't mean you stop caring for others. It means learning to care for yourself with equal devotion and embracing relationships that are built on balance, not sacrifice. Recognize the fear behind caregiving. Being a caregiver is a shield you've made to protect yourself from rejection, vulnerability, and disappointment. This doesn't make it wrong, but it does mean it's time to examine the underlying motives. Why do you feel safer giving than receiving? What would it mean to let someone truly care for you? Understand the truth about love. Love is about reciprocity, not martyrdom. It's not about earning your worth through acts of service, but embracing the truth that your worth is inherent. Love isn't a one-way street. It's a partnership where both giving and receiving are equally valuable. Letting someone care for you doesn't make you weak. It actually makes you stronger. Practice small acts of vulnerability. Change doesn't happen overnight, and diving headfirst into vulnerability can feel overwhelming. Start small. Let a trusted friend or partner do something kind for you without immediately trying to pay it back. Practice expressing a need or preference, even if it feels uncomfortable. These small steps train your mind and heart to accept care without guilt. Revisit your past with compassion. The wounds from childhood that shaped your caregiving tendencies need attention and understanding. Therapy, journaling, or guided self-reflection can help you process those early experiences. What lessons about love, worth, and care did you internalize? How do those beliefs show up in your relationships today? Revisiting your past isn't about blame. It's about creating space to heal and rewrite your story. Reframe your identity. Your value isn't tied to how much you give or how many people you help. It's about who you are at your core, a person worthy of love simply by existing. This shift in perspective can feel uncomfortable at first, But with practice, it becomes liberating. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to receive. You are allowed to be cared for. Balance means giving and receiving love in equal measure. It's about building relationships that nurture both you and the other person without fear, guilt, or resentment. It's about finally believing that you are worthy of the same care you so freely give to others. Healing from the allure of rescuing others starts with a powerful truth. You are not a savior, and you were never meant to be. The desire to fix, to pour yourself out for others, is rooted in an old narrative that says your worth must be earned. But that story is a lie. Your worth is inherent, unshakable, and not contingent on how much you give or how well you hold others together. Stepping into balance means challenging your comfort zone, not by giving more, but by daring to receive, letting yourself be cared for, allowing yourself to need. That's not weakness, it's courage, it's strength. Remember, love is not a one-sided effort. It flows in both directions. You are allowed to be loved for who you are, not for what you do. So, start today. Practice letting someone in and remind yourself, you are worthy of care. Not because you earned it, but because you exist. Now go build the kind of harmony that nurtures your soul. Be sure to subscribe. If you felt this video resonated with you and if you want to start healing the relationship you have with yourself, then watch our video right here. That will bring you in alignment with your life. Always remember, Habitual Harmony is here to help you live a life filled with self-worth,